the average size project you're seeing
Mhm.
implementation on? Like, is it a couple $100,000 billion? What's the range of the typical?
Yeah, right now we're around like 92 million or so in average project size. We had some like custom home builders out on the West Coast, and then we also had your high rise $200 million project sizes as well. So we really can scale to the size of your operation. Typical kind of a SaaS model, I'll call it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's great to hear because people are going to be wondering, like, what's your website, Adam? How can I see a demo? Right, like just natural things. But before people think about that, Adam's going to answer that for sure. If he does what he's been asked to create his bio, and all those links will be
Yes.
in the show notes below. But I want I want to get to dive deeper into a little bit more about how is this benefiting other real estate developers today.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really neat, I'll call it angle and concept. And the reason I say neat is, and I'm a little bit surprised by it. The awareness that a developer should be involved, I don't think is like standard, or I don't even know if it's majority, right? So coming from the perspective of a developer who happens to be hands-on, I realize, oh, this is what makes the most sense, right? If I'm paying for a project and that property is going to be mine, I should want to know that there's transparent accountability for all the teams involved, even if I'm hands off. That's one angle. The second angle is, yeah, I should want to know that all project stakeholders have a tool to collaborate with. That's another element. And then the last element, which is kind of, I like to separate the two areas, is data, right? So if I'm the builder and I own the property, whether I'm selling it or I'm managing it as an asset in my portfolio, I very much should want that data. I should want that information. That's what I'm paying for. You could leverage that for active projects for that project. You could leverage that for your next project, for your portfolio of projects. You could leverage it with asset management teams. You could leverage it for a sale. You could sell your property and say, hey, here's a clean data package on everything that was involved on that property. I really strongly advise that developers get involved. I can only support the process. If they don't want to be on construction sites every day, they don't have to. They just issue access to whoever is managing their project day to day, whether it's the GC, it's the end architect, whoever.
Yeah, it's that's really interesting to hear. Like, you know, you're tapping on that distinction that some developers historically, stereotypically, are a little hands off
Right.
until it comes to contract payment things.
Right.
Then they're very much hands on and make their opinions very clear.
Right.
So I
Right.
want to contrast that. Like, how do you see Jet Build addressing the needs of the general contractor who's trying to coordinate and manage? Sometimes on the jobs that you mentioned at your size,
Mhm.
like that 300 plus million, we could have like 90 trade contractors on that
Definitely.
project.
Definitely. So I like to look at it as this like two-way street, right? I mean, it can't be, oh, your contractor is battling your developer who's battling, the design team. And that's a cycle of pointing fingers and battle. Like it's so silly and doesn't make it's not productive, right? It's the opposite of what you want to push a project towards success. So again, the concept of JET is this transparency element across the project. So if you're the GC, then now you have simplified reporting to your developer. Your developer should be able to very quickly and easily look at the payment app request that has been submitted and say, oh yeah, I can see based on the daily reports that is in the same place, producing a workforce report showing me who's on site when. That could tie to this payment app for me to say, yeah, this does make sense. Which is tied to project schedule, which is tied to lien waiver submissions, et cetera, et cetera. So all of the elements that are required in that process for the GC, whether it be operations or requests for a payment or application payment app, however they define that, however they word that. It's supportive of all of these angles, and then not to mention also the design team who has responsibility in responding to changes, responding to information needs, responding to specification updates as the project proceeds, et cetera. So it really brings all of the teams together. So to remove that finger pointing and to allow for people to, be responsible for what they are accountable for.
Do you visit some of the sites that this is deployed on?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
What's the morale typically of the sites like after a healthy deployment? Like, what are some things you notice?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know if I could say, I would love to just make stuff up right now and say, you know, all of a sudden, no, it's been the best project of all time. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know if I can say from the project site
All
that
right,
I've
let me ask it this
yeah,
way. So
please,
you
please.
walk into a job where
Yeah,
jet.build's been deployed, right? It's a computer application. I'm not saying you're gonna walk in and see everybody's got the dashboard up,
sure, sure,
but what do you notice people doing? Do you see people
sure.
more in their computers, talking? What's your first like think of the last three jobs you walked into.
Yeah.
You just walked into the office. What are they doing before they look at you?
Thank you for remodeling that question.
You're welcome.
Immediately what came to mind in the middle of when you're asking that is meeting minutes. So we do a really nice job at allowing to digitizing meeting minutes and allowing for that kind of central collaboration, which also allows for linking tasking items with that automated follow up reminder and such. It pulls from prior meeting agendas. So that's the thing that comes first to mind is recognizing how meeting minutes are being used and tracked versus, the craziness of, multitudes of way of how people do that, whether that be with, handwritten notes that they then write up and send out, whether that be on Excel files or whatever it may be. I think the meeting minutes is a sticking point that I typically see as a significant change in productivity improvement.
Yeah, so you walk in and like a lot of project managers, that's like the bane of their existence. Like